back, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for taking the time to spend a little time with me. I always appreciate that. And welcome to another edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. We did a good job last week, guys, getting it to 15 minutes or less. So let's shoot for it again. So right off the cuff, guys, we're going to talk about some of the things that, I noticed right out the gate. Again, the offense. The offense, again, seems to be struggling. Now, let's give the Minnesota Vikings some credit. The Vikings are a good defense, such as, the Cleveland Browns. I think the Cleveland Browns defense is not horrible. They do some things well. They don't have the best guys. But you look at those two defenses and you say, okay, maybe our offense will struggle a little bit more so the Minnesota Vikings. However, I still feel like the Steelers need to be taking more advantage of their opportunity in terms of their offensive weapons. I mean, we did try to run the ball a little more. Le'Veon Bell was able to get about 87 yards on the ground. I think he had about 27 carries or something like that. And the game plan seemed to be a little different. They came out, a little more predictable, if you will, as far as running the ball early. And the offense, again, man, just seemed to stall out. And some of it a lot of it I have to put on Ben Roethlisberger, if we're being real about it. Big Ben, he seems to take the big shot more. He seems to want to go for the big shot a lot. And there were several situations, at least three that comes to mind, where Juju Smith-Schuster was wide open, Jesse James was wide open, as well as Le'Veon Bell was wide open, but he takes the deep shot to Antonio Brown. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand why he would want to go to Brown. You feel like you get a favorable matchup, even though, Xavier Rhodes did a great job. Xavier Rhodes did a great job. I like him, of course, being a nose guy. Did a great job, basically shadowing, Antonio Brown. They didn't completely shut Antonio Brown out, but when it was more one-on-one situations, they did, Xavier Rhodes did his thing. Now, Antonio Brown was able to draw a PI, as well as Martavis Bryant drew a PI on Trey Waynes, and I knew that would be the matchup to look at. You got to look at those things as semi-big plays because it, basically were 70-plus yards gained and allowed the Steelers to get in position to either score or kick a field goal. So, I would count those as not necessarily big plays, but they were big situations that helped the Steelers, get in scoring position. So again, taking those shots, maybe that's why, Roethlisberger went back to his old self and went deep quite often. But again, man, one of the knocks that I have to say, and shout outs to my boy Tony, he says the same thing. Roethlisberger doesn't always take what he has underneath. The little dump off passes, or going into the flat, or just whatever the defense is giving you. He doesn't always do that. Seems like he misses a lot of the underneath routes that are wide open, going for the big shot. But overall, man, the Steelers got to win. You got to be proud about that. What I basically did, guys, is I made some notations here. I did both offensively and defensively as well. So I'll basically read those things, and that's how we'll do these shows, man. We'll just basically be like a recap so you can kind of see my thought process as I'm watching the game. So the first thing I did notice as well, still too many penalties. Juju Smith-Schuster getting another penalty. I don't know what it's going to take to get Juju where we need him to be, but he's definitely got to work on that. And, in general, the Steelers are going to have to work on their offensive penalties and defensive penalties. There was a couple that Artie Burns got. I'll talk about that here a little later. So we just definitely got to shore that up. Again, it's week 2. There's going to be some struggle. Your team is trying to get themselves together. You understand that. Like Tomlin always says, if we can win while we're trying to get better, that's cool. We'll take that. A win is a win is a win. You know what I mean? So let's take a look at some of these things I jotted down. The first drive, illegal formation by Antonio Brown. He's more of a veteran guy, of course. That shouldn't happen. Killed the drive. All right. Eli Rogers on one of the first punt returns almost made a mistake. Didn't call fair catch, and the guy basically hit him right away. Things like that. Come on, Eli. You got to do a better job than that. We're trying to allow you to be the punt returner instead of keeping Antonio Brown back there. But definitely got to be wise in those decisions. But I think Eli is going to be serviceable back there. Can't really, fault him for too much. There was 1 or 2 punts that I thought maybe he had an opportunity to fill. But it is what it is. That's still a work in progress. We'll see how that goes. What else do I have here? Ben draws an offsides on 4th and 1. That kept the drive going. You know, that's Ben just being Ben. And I think it was Roberson who jumped for the Minnesota Vikings. You saw him doing like this, like, yeah, you know, that's me. My bad, coach, or what have you. So that was cool to see that. Brown, again, I talked about it. He drew a PI on Xavier Rhodes, as well as, did y'all see Big Ben throwing some blocks? I don't know if I like that, man. I don't know if I like Ben going for the cut blocks. He threw a nice one on one of those plays on the end around. I think it was to Martavis Bryant that actually sprung Martavis Bryant to get some yardage. I think it was Bryant. It might have been Juju, but I think it was Martavis. But I don't know if I like Ben doing that, throwing his shoulder in like that. I mean, Ben is always going to be Big Ben, so to speak. He's a competitor. I get it. But I don't know if I like him doing that, man. But he did that a couple times. Jesse James has a holding call that hurt one of the drives. Martavis Bryant shows up, shows his speed on the slant. And, you know, we're accustomed to seeing that. I remember the play that Landry Jones threw to him to the Cardinals, against the Cardinals. I'm tongue twisted right there. Threw to him against the Cardinals 2 years ago. Not last year, obviously, but 2 years ago I was at that game where, you know, when Landry had to come in, he threw the quick slant to Martavis, he reversed field, and it was all she wrote from there. So we know what he could do in that regard, but it's good to see him start to get back in the fold a little bit. Excuse me. I guess they're, you know, trying to work him back in. You know, obviously he didn't play, didn't get a chance to really, you know, go 100% in preseason and things like that. So I'm sure there's some type of process, but we need to definitely get that going. But it was good to see him get his hands on the ball and take it in for a touchdown. I know us Steelers fans are looking forward to that. And again, I talked about it already, but Martavis Bryant draws a personal a pass interference against Trey Waynes. Juju Smith-Schuster gets his first touchdown. Good to see that, man. Sometimes you just need to taste that, you know, so it becomes very familiar to you. Nice little play call there. You noticed last week we ran the same play pretty much with Jesse James. The nice little shuffle pass. I'm liking that. I like the little trickiness right there. You know, it's very hard to defend that when you're getting it to a sure-handed guy. It very well, you know, very well appreciate that. I like little things like that, and I think that was probably the play that we were going to run when we attempted to do the 2-point conversion. But, of course, you know, the penalty got us in disarray. Because I remember Ben saying post-game that he's glad we were able to run that play. So I'm assuming that was the play. Makes sense. You know, that probably would have been a great play to run for a 2-point try as well. So it's cool to see that. Let's see. Here it is. I'm talking about right here. As you can see again, my note process. Ben takes big shot instead of hitting Jesse James on a play action pass. Jesse was wide open. For you guys who go back and watch the game like I do, and you know, if you have the all 22, go pay attention to how many times that happened. Again, there were times where it was Le'Veon Bell, Jesse James comes to mind right away, and there was one where Juju Smith-Schuster was wide open. Nobody within 5 to 10 yards of where he was. And you know, you just think to yourself, if Ben would have maybe pulled it down, checked it down, keep those drives going. Because there was a series where it seems like they were just going deep back to back to back. So last week, they weren't going deep enough, and then this week they OD with it. So I don't know. I guess the balance will come. And what else do I have here? AB showing his toe drag swag, like Nate Burleson would say, to move the chains on one of those drives again. Nothing Antonio Brown does really impresses me anymore. Not saying that it's not great, but that's what I'm saying. My man does so many great things. It's like, it's almost the new normal. You know, I expect it out of him. The most I would do is be like, wow, that dude AB. That's it. It doesn't surprise me anymore. So to see him make plays like that, he trains for that. You know, he trains specifically to always tap the toe and drag. So still a phenomenal play, but you know, that's Antonio Brown, what you expect. Steelers stalls out after the punt fake attempt by the Vikings. That's one of them scenarios where you have to get a touchdown. You got to make these guys pay for mistakes like that. And it was surprising. You know, I guess Zimmer and them felt like, listen, we might as well just throw all our cards on the table and see what we got. You know, it was surprising that they did a fake punt in that point of the field where they were. Great headsy play by Metakevich. You know, being able to recognize that and knocking the ball away. But like I said, got to get a touchdown after that, and we don't. We stall out. We only kick a field goal. All right. Terrell Watson almost made, well, he did make a bad mistake fielding a kick. Only got back to the 15-yard line, and he was pretty deep in the end zone. So definitely don't want to see stuff like that. But again, kick return is another area of concern for the Steelers. Who's going to do it? I mean, we don't know. It looks like now it'll be Juju Smith-Schuster and Terrell Watson, but got a long season, guys, and we'll keep an eye on that. And the last thing I really have here, man, Martavis made a couple plays, made, a nice catch, a nice deep ball that he caught, as well as the one that Ben threw to him where he drew the pass interference. That pass was on the money. It actually hit him in the helmet, but that's probably because the guy was tackling him from behind. I believe it was Trey Waynes, like I said earlier. But Ben put that one on the money, but he did catch another deep ball. So Martavis, again, like I said, looks like the Martavis Bryant that we all remember. So it's good to see that. Eli Rogers got off, too. I didn't want to forget that. I was almost at the end of my notes here for offense. Eli Rogers was making some plays, and see, this is what I want. This is what could possibly happen to help open up Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant. And follow me for a moment. What I'm saying is, when you can get a guy like that because you're paying so much attention to Martavis or Antonio Brown, you can get your third guy, whether it's Eli Rogers or Juju Smith-Schuster when he, gets up to speed. When you can get that going, when your slot receiver or your tight end is doing damage, then defensively they're going to have to pay attention to that guy as well, and that's when the big shots will come. That's when you'll get the one-on-one coverage with Martavis Bryant, or that's when you will get more of a one-on-one, situation with Antonio Brown. Or then when we can start sliding Antonio Brown in the slot and putting somebody else on the outside, that's when you can get that going, when you're getting production from others. Like your Eli Rogers, and Ben seems to be pretty comfortable with him. Help move the chains. Like seeing that. So that's good stuff right there. And the last thing I would say here, man, we get a false start by Villanueva, and Villanueva giving up a sack. He's looking crazy, man, these first two games. He's not looking as good as he was and how he came on last year. I know it's early, and I know Tomlin said that Villanueva is battling, some sickness or what have you. So it is what it is, man. But, it definitely kept my eye on that. Like, okay, Big Al, we got to do a little better than that. All right, so that's offensively, guys. I think we did enough. We scored 2 touchdowns and kicked 4 field goals. My preference, I would rather see the Steelers offense score at least 3 touchdowns and maybe a few field goals to try to get close to that 30-point per game average that they want. Realistically, you're looking at, they're probably going to average between 21 to 30, you would think. So that's why I said I would rather see games where we're scoring 3 touchdowns and maybe 2 field goals, something like that, putting you basically at 27. You see what I'm saying? So I'd rather see that flip instead of 2 touchdowns, 4 field goals. Let's get more touchdowns and less field goals, and continue to improve the red area. We didn't do that bad this game. Looks like it's improving a little bit, but we still got to do a better job finishing drives in the red zone. Now, defensively, guys, I'm going to be real quick with this. It looks like I'm probably already past my time. Let me see here. Yeah, we're right close to about 14 minutes already. So it is what it is. We'll go over a little bit. But TJ Watt, he's showing that he can do more than just sack. He's getting his pressures, swatting the ball down like Big Brother. So I guess we'll have to start calling him TJ Swat. He did have an injury, went down with a growing injury, was unable to return to the game, but he looked fine. He was on the bike. He was standing out there. He said himself he doesn't think it's serious, but of course the doctors will let us know that. But it's good to see that we have other guys that can come in. Chicolo came right in, and we were still doing that thing. One thing that's very interesting, though, who did you not see in this game? It was no James Harrison at all. Read into that whatever you will, but this is how I look at it. I've seen some fans upset, very pissed off that James Harrison is not getting playtime. But we have to remember this, and let's remember this, really remember this, right? What was it that the Steelers were trying to do? By keeping James Harrison even a couple years ago. They were hoping that James Harrison would be the guy that you would bring in special situations. They were hoping that Jarvis Jones would be the guy that would eliminate the amount of snaps that James Harrison need. We use him in spurts, use him to spell people because he's older. He is Debo, but come on, man, he's 39 years old. Even 2 years ago, Joy Porter is saying they're gonna limit his snap count, etc., etc. That didn't pan out last year. James ended up having to start. Jarvis Jones got to sit down. Defense did get better, yes. But if we could go back to the original plan and get some young guys in there that can be as productive or production doesn't really drop off, and then you can use James Harrison as, I need you to go in there and do this or spell this guy and pass rush, in this situation, I'd rather have that. So don't trip out over the fact that you're not seeing James Harrison. To me, I'm more encouraged that you can bring in an Anthony Chickalo, a guy that we've been waiting to come on in the regular season, and you still got Moats. You know what I'm saying? And you got TJ Watt that you can play on both sides. I'm encouraged by that more so than I feel upset about James Harrison not getting in the game. So that's just how I'm looking at it. But like I said, TJ Watt's injury seems to be, not that significant. We'll find out, I'm sure, something by tomorrow. Well, I'm saying tomorrow, guys, because I'm doing this show late Monday night. But by the time you guys see it Tuesday, Tomlin will have his press conference as well. Maybe we'll hear more. All right, Tyson Alulu. Balling. Filling in very well for Stephon Tuitt. Again, that's another area right there. Now we got some defensive line depth. A guy that we can kind of depend on. Tyson Alulu is coming in and balling. So this looks like a guy that will be able to spell Cam Hayward and Stephon Tuitt. So these guys don't have to, take the majority of the snaps anymore. You can bring another guy in to help out. And it looks like Tyson Alulu is stepping up, to that challenge. I love the way he's playing. Things may not jump off of the, the stat sheet, but if you watch the game like I do, you can definitely see where he's making a difference, getting pushed, making some tackles, just being disruptive. And that's all you can ask for. All right, let's see what else we got here. Steelers stopped the Vikings on the first drive. Joe Hayden with a nice pass coverage on third down. It was 3rd and 13. He made a great play. Got kind of sold out a little bit as far as his body, swatted the ball away, or at least was in position to keep the receiver from even getting to it. That's what I'm talking about. The Steelers in third down is where we have to improve. Looked good on that drive. However, y'all remember there was a drive, and it was 3rd and 20. And we let the Vikings convert that right over the top to Rudolph. And I'm like, okay, where's the safety help? You understand that your linebackers, if it's not Shazier's side, and even if it is Shazier, these guys are not always going to be the best in coverage. But we cannot give up a 3rd and 20. Now, I understand the Minnesota Vikings are professionals as well, but you can't give up a 3rd and 20. Come on, man. Not as good as the defense have been playing. That's demoralizing when you give up a 3rd and 20 after playing very well. The first 2 downs or what have you. You just can't do that. Can't do that. Sean Davis was kind of out of position a little bit on a couple of plays. It was a great play that they threw the Diggs down the sideline. It was good coverage, better catch. Not mad at that one, but I know that fairly decent run that Dalvin Cook had, another Noel that I'm familiar with. Sean Davis seemed to not be in proper position. The angle that he took to defend that is what it is. Listen, I don't expect guys to make every tackle. I don't expect them to make every pass breakup or interception. But I'm just looking to see if guys are at least in the right position. And then if the offensive player makes a good move, he gets blocked or what have you, it is what it is. But let's keep an eye on that, man, because we're looking for Sean Davis to step up big this year. We haven't really seen him make significant plays so far in these first 2 games. Nothing that really can stand out. I don't recall anything like that. So let's just keep an eye on that. I talked about Artie Burns. Artie's got to do a better job with improving with his hand placement and things like that. He did get called for holding. He did get called for pass interference. I know some people say they could question some of those calls. But, from the way I looked at it, yeah, I can see the flag being drawn. But like I said, Artie Burns is just going to have to improve in those areas. I think he's doing better. He's looking a lot better to me so far in these first 2 games for the duration of the game. Even though he has a couple moments like that, he's going to be okay. I really like what Artie Burns is bringing to the table with being able to press and, play man and things like that. And now Joe Hayden is only going to get better in the system. You know, we got to remember that Joe Hayden is still learning Pittsburgh's, system for the most part. So, things are going to get better. I'm very encouraged by what I see by the defense so far. And last couple things I'll talk about, Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree is the sack that he got. It looked like that man was shot out of a cannon. How fast he got around that edge. I'm telling you, man, if we can keep Bud Dupree healthy, and when TJ Watt comes back, the motor that these guys have, and if we can continue to get that effort that they're showing and continue to get a 4-man rush without having to blitz, even though Butler did blitz, quite often against, Keenum. Obviously, it's not Bradford. He blitzed to Keenum quite often. But, man, if we can continue to get pressure like we are getting in these first 2 games with 4, the Steelers could definitely make some noise defensively. I mean, the front end helps the back end. Y'all know how that goes. So, very encouraged by that. And let's see, what else do I have here? And actually, that's it. The last note that I actually had was Bud Dupree also swats down a ball in the 4th quarter with 2 hands. So I'm just liking the effort that I'm seeing out of these guys, man, defensively and offensively. We just got to improve a little more. I'm not asking for guys to get a touchdown all the time. I acknowledge that the Vikings are a very good defensive team, so let's not, shun their credit there. But I just need to see the offense getting a little more rhythm, man. It just doesn't feel like they're quite in sync as of yet. And, I will end it with this. We played against the Vikings without Sam Bradford, and we played the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Kaiser. Not taking any credit for Kaiser. He's, taking any credit away from Kaiser, but he's a rookie. Let's be honest. He's a rookie, all right? That just is what it is. And Case Keenum, he's a backup for a reason. He has had some success in the NFL, but the man is a backup. He's not Sam Bradford. He's not what we saw that Monday night against the Saints, where everybody was saying, whoa, this is going to be a tough game against the Vikings. And I personally wanted to see Sam Bradford. I wanted to see our guys get tested. I really wanted to see them get tested against somebody who can pass, who is accurate, who can, manipulate the offense the way he wants to, like he showed us against the Saints. Now, granted, Saints defense don't look that good either, but I wanted to see somebody like Bradford with capabilities, as long as he's not hurt, which he is now. That's been the knock on him his whole career. But I wanted to see that guy that we saw against the Saints go against our Steelers defense so we could really see where they are. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said before the game started, whether we won or lost, we were going to learn a lot from that particular game. So, didn't happen. We head into Chicago this coming week, and I'll save my thoughts on that for when we get to the pregame. You guys seem to like that, so I'll try to keep that going. More than likely will be Friday this week. So, yeah, that's all I got, man. Hey, we're 2-0. Not a finished product at all. There's still some areas of concern, but again, just to borrow what Tomlin says, if you can win while improving the team, that's a plus. And I guess that's what we're doing. All right, so that's going to do it, guys, for this week's episode, man. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cut on those notifications so you're fully aware when a new video is present. And I promise, it will never hurt you to hit that like button. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode. But hey, we'll be back soon. Here we go, Steelers. Peace.